By tomorrow night, one of these two men will be headed to the U.S. Senate. Good luck to either one of them. No, Cory Booker and Steve Lonegan, they're both fighting to replace the late Frank Lautenberg in a race that will likely end up a whole lot closer than many people once believed. And for more, we're happy to be joined by Herb Jackson, Washington correspondent and columnist at The Record. Herb, the idea that we are, arguably, if you believe the polls, as much as within 10 points here on the eve of this election, albeit a special election, is that a greater indictment on Cory Booker, or is that more some kind of recognition that Jersey voters like what Lonegan's selling?
Well, I think it's, well, first of all, we've got a new poll out this morning that shows it broadening a lead to 14 points in a Quinnipiac poll. But, you know, it's New Jersey, Richard. You know, we don't just necessarily like somebody just because they've been on Oprah. The voters want to see somebody do something. I think Booker was trying to play a front-runner campaign and sort of stayed away. His campaign says he had to raise money because he's anticipating winning and having to run again next year when this full 6-year term is going to be up. So he was doing a lot of fundraising to get ready for this race and next year's race. But they did sort of ignore Steve Lonegan. While Steve Lonegan was a force of nature, he just swept into the city of Newark and just kept hurling charges and hurling charges. And he had some friends in, you know, in outside groups who were putting some money into media to try and, you know, bring down Cory Booker's positives. That had an impact. We'll see whether it's enough to have a real difference because, you know, the latest polls, you mentioned 10 points. That was a Monmouth University poll. Quinnipiac went from 12 to 14 in today's release. Eagleton, which had it at 35 points back in September, is at 22 now. But in none of these polls has Lonegan broken the lower 40s, and Booker has never gone below 50, which is what you need to win an election.
You know, it is interesting, Herb, that when you think about what's going on in Washington right now, which has got to play in some way, shape, or form, coinciding here with midnight deadline tomorrow night, with the debt limit, with obviously the special election, it's not like the messages Lonegan is selling are popular in New Jersey, and certainly not with some of the verbiage that he's surrounding it with, from voting against federal aid for Sandy funding. He supported the government shutdown, very unpopular in New Jersey. Not only is he against Obamacare, at one point even saying, hate to see if you have cancer, but that's your problem, not mine. He's not in lockstep, I can find, on almost any issues with New Jersey electorate here. It's surprising. I know that, you know, he's run a questionable campaign, Booker, but still that Lonegan's finding traction with some of the things he said.
Well, I mean, you assume that all of the positions you laid out are actually known to the voters. Somebody has to tell them those things. You know, there's always a core of people who know or follow things very closely who will have heard these things, but there's a large mass of people out there who don't even know we're having an election on Wednesday, who don't know who the different guys are. They may have heard Lonegan's name over the years, they may have heard Booker's name over the years, but they don't necessarily know enough about how to connect those positions with their own vote. And, you know, it's not unusual for people to vote against their own interests. And on the flip side, the people who do agree with Steve Lonegan are excited that they have somebody who's actually talking about the things that they see people talking about on, you know, cable news shows, that those people are usually from other states, that they finally get a chance in New Jersey to vote for somebody who is saying those things.
So I guess that all begs the logical question, are the Booker folks worried about turnout tomorrow, given that it's a Wednesday in the middle of October? And as you said, a lot of people might not even know there's an election going on. Well,
I mean, they say they're not. I asked Booker about this today. You know, he says we're going to have good turnout. He points to the fact that in August, in the primary, everybody said it would be low turnout. And while that was true for the Republican primary, when Lonegan was running again against Alita Eck, in the Democratic primary, where you had Booker and Congressman Holt and Congressman Pallone and Assembly Speaker Oliver, you actually had a turnout that's in line with what you would normally get in a June primary, and that was this special August 19th or August 13th election And it was a very unusual date when people were on vacation. They still got a normal Democratic turnout. Booker says, so don't believe that we're going to have a weak turnout here just because of that.
And then finally, I guess the question, if we put him up to a lie detector, he'd probably admit here, Mr. Booker would, that maybe he would have run a different election at this point instead of taking it as a foregone conclusion. But on the other side, are some Republicans kicking themselves saying, geez, Booker was more beatable than I thought. I wish I got into this mix here, that a more credible candidate, forget about giving him a run for his money, could actually beat Booker tomorrow?
It's hard to say. I mean, you can always imagine another candidate, but who would that candidate be and what would that candidate's qualities be? And Democrats would still have run a campaign against that candidate. You know, and what you might not have gotten if it were somebody who didn't take the strong views that Steve Lonegan is the committed following that Steve Lonegan is bringing to the polls tomorrow. We'll see how big it is.
We will. Hey, Herb, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Richard.
All right. It is going to probably be closer, but still, it'd be a shock if Booker doesn't win. I think a lot of questions will come out of this, Dominic. A year from now, if he's got to run again, I think people are going to see him, and maybe more people will line up than maybe somebody like a Steve Lonegan.
A year from now, he'll have, if Mr. Booker wins, he'll have the power of incumbency a bit. That'll cost him a little bit, but you know, he's got some issues. So I don't know if he can close ranks around him. Republicans may put up a much stronger candidate, as you indicated. It's going to be interesting, and by all means, it won't be a year from now a walk in the park.
I don't know about that. I think it's going to be a bigger struggle for him tomorrow. He's an unknown, and he's got the baggage of Newark that's still hanging around him. If he's an incumbent and he runs again next year, he's free of the baggage of Newark, and he'll have, you know, a year's worth of voting in the Senate to have on this
Why
side.
would he be free of the baggage of Newark?
Because he won't be mayor of Newark anymore.
Well, I mean, not only that, to say that this candidate, the incumbent, is being unknown, I don't think many people would consider Cory Booker being unknown.
I think
the problem Cory Booker is going to have is Cory Booker. I think, even, you know, looking at the mayorship of Newark, you know, Newark has a killing every single day. And
But you know what, to Andrew's point, 12 months from now, he doesn't speak, he doesn't mention Newark.
Right.
He's built for the U.S. Senate. I'm not sure he was built to run Newark or built to run New Jersey, even as a governor. I think he's going to probably be in the best spot for him, how he's built. But you got to wonder, Lonegan's all sorts of crazy. I mean, some of the stuff that have come out of his mouth
he's
here.
Palladino-like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
That's the closest analogy if you really dig into some of the things he said and done. And yet, conceivably, he could be within single digits when it's all said and done tomorrow night. Okay, and a quick reminder, Files One News, New Jersey will have coverage of the Booker-Lonegan special election tomorrow night, including live reports from both campaigns as each hopes to declare victory when it's all said and done. All right, when we come back, we're going to leave politics to the side, and we'll honor a true American hero. Stay with us.